And so just notice any tendency you may have to direct the breath or take the breath. And see if you can soften in this moment. And just observe the natural rhythm, the natural intelligence of the body to nourish you. And just notice if focusing on the breath helps you feel a little more inside your walls of skin. Perhaps noticing physical sensations or energetic sensations. And just observing with an ungrasped mind. And from this same space of observation, we'll begin to gently move. If you are using the musical playlist, you can hit play on the first track and then just make sure it's set to loop one track at a time so that you have the mellow song for a really long time. And if you don't know how to do that, again, you can ask in the chat box. If you've bent your knees, extend the legs out, let the feet get really heavy so they drop out to the side, and just notice the relationship of feet dropping out and what happens in the hip sockets. And then gently start to windshield wiper the feet. And let go of any sense of forcing the feet to go really wide and really narrow, and instead just allow the feet to open and close however much feels effortless. Almost like you're not doing it. You're just observing, and there's no sense of one muscle in the body over dominating. We'll just do this for another moment or so and notice the sensation in the legs, the sensation in the hips. Maybe you can even feel a little sensation in the core. Not because you're doing anything, but just because everything in the body is connected, and as the feet move, you can feel those connections traveling all the way to your center. And then allow the feet to point upward and gently start to drag the heels along the mat, bringing the feet closer to the hips. Reach the fingertips towards the heels and push down into the feet to lift the hips just a few inches. And then set the hips back down and give yourself the space to adjust your feet. We're going to do this a few times. So each time you lower the hips, open up inside and notice if the feet just want to walk a little further forward, a little wider. Notice the direction the toes want to face. And if you're not sure, that's okay. Just experiment a little bit. And the test is when you push down gently into the feet to lift the hips, the knees should feel really supported. It's almost like you don't feel anything in the knees because feedback is often tension or discomfort. So just take a few moments to experiment here. There's no right or wrong. As long as you feel supported, you don't feel any pain or tension. Hopefully you've found a place where the feet are supporting the knees and the core. Set the hips down one last time. Allow the shoulders to glide down the back. Plant the hands to the earth. And instead of lifting by pushing into the feet, try reaching the knees forward, away from the head. And notice if you can lift the hips in that way with a sense of ease, effortless effort. Try that one more time. So reach the knees away, letting the whole front of the body open evenly with no gripping anywhere in the body. And this time we'll stay lifted and bring your attention to your sacrum, the base of the spine. Imagine it like a leaf and start to sway the sacrum from side to side like a leaf catching a breeze, just gently drifting down to the earth. Eventually, the sacrum contacts the earth. Feel the pelvis really heavy, and then float the arms and legs up to the earth, or up to the sky. I guess it's an intensive. I'm a little disoriented. Give the arms and legs a really gentle jiggle. I know that's not a word we like to apply to our body, but imagine the arms and legs like jello. You're not shaking them, you're really just letting the jello gently jiggle like you have no bones. And then reach up again. Let the right leg lengthen forward. Left arm reaches apart like a half X. And then right arm and left leg reach apart. So you're back in Shavasana. We'll repeat that whole sequence, but a little bit faster. So legs drag in, heels along the earth, soles of feet plant, and reach the hands down to gently lift the hips into bridge. And then gently let your sacrum leaf drift down to the earth, side to side. And feel that sweet moment of contact as the sacrum lands and feels very grounded and supported. Float arms and legs up. Gentle jiggle. And this time, left arm, left leg, right arm, and then swap. So you land in your Shavasana. Last time, heels, dragon, hands reach to the heels, lift the hips, and gently sway the sacrum down. This time, as the sacrum anchors, float hands and legs, but keep the knees bent so the shins are parallel to the earth, and gently roll onto your side. So hips and shoulders stack, facing the screen. Slowly start to lift the left arm like the pages of a book opening. Your spine is the spine of the book. Notice that moment when the left hip naturally wants to lift with the arm. Let the leg follow, so you roll over the spine all the way to the other side. And we're going to take several rolls like this. So the top arm leads, the top hip follows, and then notice how the bottom side of the body goes along for the ride. And we don't want any sense of strain here or overstretching, so let this feel really connected. You can really sense how the limbs anchor gently into the core, how the core evenly supports the limbs. And once you've got the hang of it, you might be able to notice the gentle massage along the side of the hip, the shoulder, the back body. Start to, again, notice the breath supporting you from the inside. And the next time you're facing away from me, we'll take one last roll, but as you roll onto the right side, extend the left leg, let it reach away from you, and gently press into the hands so you magically float up into Janu Shirshasana legs. Yay, you did it. Way to go. And if you didn't make it, it's okay. Meet here with the right leg folded, left leg extended. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see your beautiful faces. Take a moment to plant the right hand to the side and take a couple of bounces in the right hand and the right shoulder. Let the arm be really springy so you're not working too hard, and then float over to the other side as long as that's okay for the hips, and take a couple of bounces on that side. And then float up to center and lift the left knee. Squeeze the legs together and see if that can help you sit up a little taller. Observe the breath. And then keep the legs together as you reach the arms forward and start to sway to the left. Plant the left hand and just gently rock towards the left, massaging the outside of the left leg. And then reverse that, let the hip open, plant the right hand over to the side and let the whole body follow. So kind of similar to our rolling from side to side on our back. We're just rolling from left to right and allow the right knee to follow the movement. So there's no strain in that right hip. And you can continue just like this. If you want a little more oomph, a little more activation in the legs, you can start pressing down into the feet so the hips start to lift at the end of the movement. Coming through center in the same way, but then as you reach the end, just push down and notice how the legs can lightly support you. It doesn't matter how high the hips lift. And the next time you start to twist to the left, pause. Keep your body, your lower body where it is, but grab onto the right knee and just take a modified Urdhva Matsyendrasana, gently twisting into the right leg. And I'm going to demo our next transition. You'll turn away from me, you'll plant the left hand and lift the hips. Start to spring into the right leg and then actually hop the right leg over the left. If that seems scary or like not good on your body, you can bend both knees and just slowly roll over the knees. We'll all meet in a lunge with the right leg forward, facing the direction where our head was to begin. If that spring felt really good, take a couple of them so that neurological pathway can start to get more familiar. If you've never done this transition before, at first it might seem impossible, and then it might feel quite fun. Yeah, good, you got it. So next time the right leg is in front, lower the back knee and adjust the front foot and the back knee until the hips feel really comfortable. Right? So that might mean walking the right foot to the right. I like to have a lot of space, so I'm going to turn so you can just see this for a moment. So try bringing the hands inside of the knee and see how that feels on your pelvis. Take a moment to come into the stretch so the hips lower any amount that's comfortable, and then come up just an inch or two out of wherever you naturally went. Keeping the hands down, the coming up is with the hips. And just notice a sense of lightness or buoyancy in the pelvis. And then slowly start to circle the hips, not trying to stretch deeply, but just maintaining that sense of buoyancy and starting to explore it in a more three-dimensional way. And then walk the hands in towards the back leg, slide the right leg back a little bit just so you have more stability and support underneath you, and push down into the legs to slowly rise up. Reach the arms forward, up and back, letting the front of the body open evenly. And just take a couple of circles like that, reaching forward. Let the hips fold back a little, and then push down into the feet, unfolding the whole front of the body. And try to release any sense of going into a deep back bend or going into a deep hip stretch. And instead, just imagine you're moving energy through your body with no resistance, no force. You guys all look like poetry, if you could see poetry. The next time you circle up, pause at the top. Again, observe the breath. See if you can allow the heart to open. And then release the hands down inside of the right foot. Tuck back toes, lift back knee, and push into the hands to lift the hips a little bit. Start to drag the right foot along the mat until you can reach it up and back into a downward facing dog, and feel free to adjust the hands if they were a little short. Push into the hands and feel the connection from pushing into the hands, how you might be able to just reach the right leg up and back a little bit more. And then gently, silently set the right foot down, drop the knees, and drag the hands back to meet the knees. So as you drag the hands back, you might feel the front of the body activate a little bit. Push down into the hands. Lift the knees a little bit until you can bring the heels down. And then gently lift the hips up. Keep a deep bend in the knees so there's no tension in the low back or in the hamstrings. Let the head hang heavy if that's comfortable on the neck, and just gently sway the hips from side to side. Kind of like how Mahadev taught. Try pushing into one foot and letting that just gently shift the rest of the body the opposite direction. Not forcing anything, but just noticing the natural connections. And then come to center. Bend the knees a little bit more and let the sits bones get really heavy, as if they want to drop towards the heels, but don't let them. Gently start to push into the feet and stack one vertebra at a time, slowly rolling up. Make sure the neck feels supported. You might lift the head slightly so there's no strain on the back of the neck. And take your time. And once you arrive at the top, pause. Feel your heartbeat. Gently take in the space around you. And then start to walk towards the center of your mat and try to feel the heel and then the foot contact the earth, bringing all the attention to the soles of the feet. Once you make it into the middle of the mat, pause, bring a little extra weight into the heels, and slowly sink the hips back as you sweep the arms forward and up. And then push down into the feet, let the arms drop, and shift the weight into the ball of the foot, coming onto tippy toes. And we'll pulse between those two shapes. I know we're asymmetrical right now, so it might actually feel different on one side of the body after doing the lunges with the right leg forward, and just appreciate maybe the extra support you're feeling on the right side, what's possible when we wake up, more support inside. The next time you come onto tippy toes, pause there. And it's okay if you feel a little quivering in the ankles, but just notice if there's a sense of the ankles falling out or falling in, and see if you can stack them towards center. So the inside and outside of the ankle are working evenly. And then gently set the heels down and feel yourself land in your footprints. Observe a few breath cycles, relax any tension anywhere in the body. You might notice jaw, neck, shoulders. Allow the toes to turn out just a little bit and start to shift the weight from side to side. And we're making our way towards the mat through Malasana. If Malasana is not comfortable, it's totally fine to just come all the way down. Again, I'm going to turn so you can see this better. We're just shifting from side to side as we lower the hips, so the muscles in the legs stay really nice and active, and we don't dump into our hips or a low back. And then once the hips are close to the earth, you can pause where you are or lower them all the way down, whichever's most comfortable for you. We'll all set the hips down, extend the legs in front of us, and gently roll forward and back on the spine. So you should be opposite of the way you began. And to check that, if you're disoriented and don't even know where things began, the left arm should be closer to the screen. That will make it a little easier to follow. Recline, stretch out the legs, and just pause. Back in Shavasana, a moment to absorb, completely free of tension, completely free of effort. And just imagine any tension in the mind gently releasing. Any tension clouding the heart gently floating away. And as you rest here, feel the opportunity to connect really deeply inside. And then breathe into that sweet place. And we'll go through that same sequence on the second side and notice if anything starts to feel more familiar. Notice your ability to let go of the mind and really allow the body to take you into different shapes in an effortless way. So we'll start with our bridge pose. Reach the fingertips towards the heels and drag the heels along the mat, activating the back line of the body. Plant the soles of the feet down and reach the knees forward to effortlessly lift. Let go of any sense of lifting high. Just try to notice support and ease. Float the sacrum down, letting it sway from side to side. And then anchor the sacrum gently into the earth. Float hands and feet up. Give them a shake. As you shake the arms and legs, just imagine all tension crumbling away from the body. Yourself becoming freer and lighter. Lengthen opposite arm and leg apart to the earth. And then whichever arm and leg are left lifted, lengthen those away. And we'll just do that one more time. So drag the feet back, reach hands to heels, lift the hips, and then sway the sacrum gently back down. Hover arms and legs, but this time bend the knees. Roll on to the left side, and then lift the right arm. Let that gently pull the right leg, and then left leg, and then finally left arm. And just take a few of these gentle rolls, not forcing anything, just observing, just allowing. The next time you start to roll onto the left side, reach the right leg out, push into the hands, and let the reaching out of the right leg pull you up into our Janu Shirshasana legs. Take a moment to spring into each hand and imagine there's a horseshoe on your hand that goes from the pinky to the base of the wrist to the thumb. That's where we want most of our contact to be. That's where we've got the most muscles, the most support. The next time you spring over to the right, plant the sole of the left foot down. Let the legs come together and gently start to sweep the left hand across the horizon. Roll slightly towards the outside of the right leg and then switch directions. So the leg falls open, left hand plants, and you sweep the horizon with the right leg. Well, you can do it with the right leg, but you should do it with the right arm. And start to play between those two shapes and become really interested in what the legs want to do. There is no right or wrong. Notice how the thighs gently rotate in the hip socket. And the thing that's fun with these movements that are less familiar, there's less of a sense of a destination, right? It's really just about the journey and exploring in a very simple way without it looking like some kind of special pose. And the next time you rotate towards the right, notice how the sole of the left foot can contact the earth, push down a little bit, and gently start to twist to the left. Right hand to knee, lengthen through the spine. Make sure you can breathe evenly and smoothly, and if it's comfortable, it's fine to gently gaze to the left. Try pulling the left side of the rib cage back a little bit and just notice what changes in your twist. And then I'm going to demo that same transition. If you already understand it, you can do it at any time, but you'll reach the right leg out so it's pointed towards the short edge of the mat. Plant the right hand behind you and then hop the left foot over the right leg, swiveling on the right toes, right? And if you figure it out, you can do a few of them. And if that's not working in your body, let's just all meet with the left foot forward in a lunge facing the opposite direction. And then set the back knee down. Walk the left foot over to the side towards the left so you've got a lot of space. And then just come out of your stretch an inch or two, evenly activating through the hips. Take a few gentle circles and move twice as slow or half as fast, whatever makes more sense to you. And just notice how sensations change, how awareness changes when you slow down a little. And then center the pelvis, walk the hands back a little bit, slide the front foot back a little bit, and push down into the legs to slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. Reach the arms up and open, and just take a few circles here. And as the arms circle forward, it's okay to hinge at the hips and send them back a little bit. And then start to notice that sensation of the front of the body unfurling and opening. Maybe even smile a little bit. And the next time you open, pause, bend the elbows a little bit more. Let the whole front of the body open evenly. Gaze up slightly. And then release the arms down. Lift the back knee. Extend the back foot out so you've got a little more space between front foot and back foot. And then push into the hands. Start to glide. Drag the left leg along the mat and then kick it up and back for three-legged dog. Pause for a moment and then gently set the left foot down. Gently lower the knees and keep the hands on the mat. Drag them back towards the knees, feeling the front of the body activate. Slowly lift the knees, heels towards the earth. Bend knees deeply and drop the head. Sway from side to side. And now we'll start to add on to the sequence because we're balanced on both sides, so things are going to be a little different than before. Heel toe the feet in slightly so the pelvis feels really supported. Keep that deep bend in the knees and press the fingertips into the earth. Let the head hang heavy. Gently start to push down into the feet and the fingertips to hollow out the front of the body. Imagine you're like a jellyfish or an octopus here. And notice how when you push down into the hands and the feet, the sense of the front edge of the body scooping up to meet the back edge. It's totally fine to let the spine round. Take a few pulses like that. And the next time everything extends, again, heavy sits bones towards the heels. Allow those heavy sits bones to slowly pull the pelvis down, so one vertebra at a time. Stacks upon the pelvis, head and neck stay heavy as long as it's comfortable on all of the vertebra. And then pause at the top. Observe the breath, observe the feet supporting you, the even tone through the hips and the core. And just notice any sense of being able to connect to that sweet place inside the heart and the inner self. And try to keep feeling the pathway to that place as we continue to move. Bend the knees, sits bones heavy, let the hips flex as you sweep the arms forward and up, and then drop the arms, shift the weight into the balls of the feet, coming onto tiptoes, and do this a few times. And notice if it feels a little more familiar, a little more supportive. Maybe there's less quivering in the ankles. No judgment if it's the same, but just give yourself a moment to witness. And the next time the hips go back into Utkatasana, gently drape the body over the legs, releasing back down. And we'll go back into those jellyfish pulses, trying to connect the legs into the core. So knees and elbows bend, and then push down into the feet, into the fingertips, letting the front edge of the body just gently lift towards the back edge. Nothing forceful, nothing straining. The next time everything lifts, shift the weight into the heels, Let the sits bones drop and let that action slowly roll you up one vertebra at a time, as long as that's comfortable. If anything ever causes strain, tension, discomfort, don't do it. Find a more comfortable way. And then sweep arms forward, hips back. Last time. And once you get familiar with the sequence, like this one that we've repeated a few times, skip anything you don't like, make your way into anything you do like, add something on. The next time you're in chair, release forward if you want to. And we'll just take our last round, pulsing up and down, letting the body work as one collective. And the next time everything integrates, shift the weight into the heels, sits bones drop so the hamstrings can gently engage to pull you up one vertebra at a time, and move extra slow on this last round and really try to feel each vertebra. Take your time. And then once you arrive at the top, just pause for a moment and shift the weight from foot to foot. And then bring equal weight into both feet. Shift the weight into the left foot. Let the arms hang heavy, but then reach out through the fingertips so the arms are slightly engaged, and lift the right foot and just take some gentle swings with the right leg. Let this be really natural and even, like you're not trying to overdo anything, but allow the body to express itself without overexertion. The next time the leg swings forward, step it forward and to the right just a little bit in your natural stride. Gently bend into the front knee and sweep the arms up, letting the front of the body open in a nice, easy Virabhadrasana 1. It might be shorter than you're used to, and that's okay. Shift the weight into the right foot, hover the left foot, let the arms swing down, and then let the left leg swing this time. Just gently allowing the hip socket to stay really relaxed, letting those muscles untension as the leg swings. Then the next time it swings forward, step it forward and to the left in, again, a very short stance where the hips stay nice and square, feet are anchored. Scoop the air up in front of you, bend into the front knee. And now shift the weight into the left foot so you can step the right foot forward in line with it and let the arms drop. Let the hips drop. Scoop the arms up. And now shift the weight into the left foot. Allow the arms to swing down behind you and hover the right foot. Make a little circle with the right ankle. And then touch the toe down as if you're testing the temperature of water, cold pond. Simultaneously reach the arms forward and glide the right toes back, stretching long through the right side of the body. And then ever so gently shift forward so the back toes can lift an inch, and just take a couple of pulses. Arms can swing with you if that feels nice, but they don't have to. The next time the toes come down, dig the big toe down almost as if you were in sand and you're trying to press the foot down into the sand, and slowly externally rotate the right leg so we're facing each other again. Hey! And then we'll do the same thing the other direction. So point the left toes down, digging down into the sand, letting the left hip internally rotate, and the arm can do the same thing. And we're just going to go back and forth between those two shapes a few times. So the arm and leg work together, and get really interested in the big toe pushing down. Notice the muscles in the legs evenly activating, and that similar sensation in the hip socket and the shoulder. The next time you open, pause. Bend the knees as much as is comfortable, and then come up an inch. And notice that sensation of coming up an inch, the little extra activation. Try to avoid like over tucking the tailbone or squeezing the glutes. And then just take some gentle pulses here. allowing the hips to lift and lower, almost like a buoy resting on the surface of the ocean. And then shift the weight into the right foot and dig the left toes into the sand once again, slowly squaring the hips to the right. Shift the weight into the right leg and step the left foot forward. And just pause for a moment. Notice any warmth through the hips, perhaps especially through one of the legs. And then reach the arms out to T, so you've got a little help balancing. Shift the weight into the right foot and come onto the left toes. And imagine you've got a little trampoline underneath your left foot and you're pushing down into the left foot and springing off of it. So we're doing these little toe springs and trying to keep the hip flexors really soft. So if you notice the hip flexors engaging, really try to make the movement come from the foot. Trying to keep the hips really nice and soft here. You can add the arms in if it feels good. As the knee lifts, the arms can swing down in opposition. And then start to play with the same action, but with the foot behind you a little bit more, kind of like our Virabhadrasana 1. So weight shifts into the right foot, and now we've got those springs, but they're a little bigger, right? The leg travels a little further as long as that's comfortable. As you pulse here, imagine you're storing energy in that left leg. It's going to be supporting you really soon in Virabhadrasana 3. You might wonder, whoa, how are we going to be in Vira 3 on the left leg? You'll find out shortly. The next time the leg reaches behind you, slowly shift through center all the way to the other side so the toes are pointed to the left. Gently shift the weight onto the left foot. Find your drishti, bend your left knee, and gently lift the back leg. Try to keep the left leg nice and soft. Take a couple of springs, just like we did in our jellyfish pose, letting the leg bend and extend, and just see how relaxed you can be in this pose. And then set the right toes down, set the hands down inside of the foot, and glide the left foot up and back into three-legged dog. Set the left foot down, drop the knees down, and gently press the hips back to the heels, melting the forehead. If you'd like, you can push into one shin at a time, letting it naturally rock you from side to side, or you can just be still for a moment. Center the weight evenly on both shins, then gently push down into both shins, letting the hips slowly rise. Push down into the hands and allow the spine to round into cat pose as shoulders come over the wrists. And do that a couple times. So send the hips back to the heels and then push down into the shins, push down into the hands. And you don't need to overexert, but notice how that pressure just helps the front of the body support the back of the body. And the next time you come forward, pause at the top and start to drag the hands back and wide so the heart can lengthen and peek through the arm bones. Let the belly drop a little bit. Take a couple of natural breaths in cow. And then walk the hands forward, one hand print, tuck the toes underneath and push into the hands to hover the knees and slowly shift the hips up and back into a little springy downward facing dog. So the knees are deeply bent. Take a couple of springs. And then drop the knees, drag the hands back towards the knees, lift the knees and let the heels slowly lower, and then let the body unfold as the hips lift and the head hangs heavy. Sits bones drop towards the heels, push down into the feet, slowly stacking one vertebra at a time. And pause for a moment at the top. And before we do that sequence on the second side, we have to change directions. And so to make it fun, take a few hops and then start to hop all the way around to your starting point. And then hop in the other direction, back to your starting point. And then hop in whichever direction you like more to the other side. And keep hopping if it feels good, or stop hopping if it doesn't feel good. And then we'll all stop hopping. Some reason I feel like a Dr. Seuss book. Let's all stop hopping and feel our feet and feel our heartbeat. And feel the breath. And maybe notice any sense of fluidity inside, suppleness physically, or even energy gently traveling through the nadis. We'll begin with chair pose. So flex at the hips, sending the sits bones back, sweep the arms forward, and then shift the weight into the right foot. Allow the arms to swing down, and then slowly start to drag the left leg back as the arms oppose that, reaching forward. And pause for a moment in this long, linear lunge. And then shift the weight into the right foot and just take a couple of test runs in like the babyest Virabhadrasana 3, just noticing how that right leg feels underneath you as the left toes lift an inch. And the next time the left toes come down, drop the arms and slowly externally rotate the left side of the body. And we'll just play with digging our feet in the sand one at a time, letting the muscles in the leg naturally turn on. Nothing overfires here. And the next time the right foot digs in, turn to the left, drop the arms, and shift the weight into the left foot. Step the right foot forward. Reach the arms down and wide. Shift the weight into the left foot. And now your trampoline's back. Take some little toe springs. And again, check in with the hip flexors. If you're feeling a lot of sensation in the front of the hip, try to do less. Maybe the foot only lifts an inch, but try to stay really relaxed here. Let the foot do the work. And then you can add the arms in. So as the knee lifts, the arms drop if that feels good. And then if that's going well, we can expand it a little bit so the leg can start to reach out. As the right leg reaches back, the left knee can bend. You can imagine you're wearing your favorite colored sweatband here, because this really feels like a jazzercise kind of move. And then the next time the right leg reaches back, pause. Slowly shift through center all the way to the right side, and then shift the weight into the right foot. The left leg can lift a little or a lot. Find your drishti. Reach the arms forward, reach the arms back, doesn't matter. But bend that right knee and see if you can find a sense of springiness in your Virabhadrasana 3. Set the left toes down at any time, or stay upright if this feels good. And then we'll all set the toes down and gently release the hands inside of the right foot. Push into the hands, glide the right foot along the mat, and then eventually up and back for three-legged dog. And then gently drop the foot down, drop the knees down, flatten the tops of the feet, and push into the hands to send the hips all the way back to the heels, melting into the earth for a moment. Tuning inside. Noticing any sense of warmth, support. Push down into the shins, slowly rolling the spine forward, stacking shoulders over wrists. Tuck the toes behind you. Walk the hands forward, one handprint, and then pull on the mat, lengthening through the spine, letting the belly drop any amount as long as there's no pressure in the low back. And then hover the knees, push into the hands to send the hips up and back, and walk the feet together behind you like a tripod between the hands. Lift the right foot up and back, and then swing the right knee in between the hands, and resist the temptation to swivel the shin too much. Keep the heel underneath the body. We're doing a more linear version of pigeon. So gently push the hips forward and back with the heel underneath the body. There shouldn't be too much pressure in the SI joint here. And the next time the hips push back, gently start to roll the weight onto the outside of the right thigh, kind of similar to that earlier movement we did. Roll over the leg, letting the right knee come in, and then go back to where you came from. So just get a nice massage in the right hip. If any of these movements feels really good and you want to stay and pause and work a little bit more in pigeon or in your straddle, you can. Otherwise, keep massaging the joint. This prevents any muscle from over-dominating or anything from freezing up. The next time the right side of the leg comes down, slowly bend the left knee. Let the right knee fall to meet the sole of the foot and lift the arms and just windshield wiper the legs from side to side. The next time the legs come over to the left, pause there, anchor the left hand down, and slowly allow the right leg to unfold behind you, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. So plant the hands kind of like plank, gently push down into the left shin, squaring the hips, and then roll the weight to the left side, and then up through center, letting that leg come in. Again, pause anywhere that feels interesting, or just keep rolling between internal and external rotation with that left hip. The next time the left knee opens off towards a pigeon, plant the hands, extend the left leg up and back, and then slowly lower the left foot down. You're welcome to pause and pigeon or in downward facing dog, gently swaying the hips. Or if you would like to rest, you can come down to hands and knees or Bhaktasana. Wherever you are, let's all gently make our way onto the belly. Take your time. No rush to get there. Let the elbows come wide. Let the hands stack. Bring the forehead to the hands and just pause. Let the body be soft. Let the breath be natural. Let's do a little scan of the body and notice if there's any tension anywhere, and see if there's anything you can do to alleviate that, giving yourself some space, windshield wipering the legs, just little adjustments to free the physical body. And I apologize, I didn't tell you to have a blanket nearby. Our final option before Shavasana is a restorative pose, and it can be nice to either roll up a bit of your yoga mat, or if you have a blanket nearby, to roll up a blanket about as wide as your mat and not too thick, maybe about 2 or 3 inches high. And our restorative pose is just a nice, gentle way of releasing the psoas. So you can take a moment to feel the front of the hip bone, and then to walk the fingers underneath that to the area that's soft tissue. That's where we're going to want the blanket to be. So feel it with your hands, and then visualize putting your hips right there on the blanket. And then slowly release the body down and come back to the position we were just in. And it's really subtle. And so it's okay if you're not feeling anything big happening here. But if you do feel anything that feels intense or uncomfortable or tight or even just too tender, remove the blanket and just go back to Makarasana, the same pose without the prop. Allow the breath to flow low into the belly. And imagine that the breath can help you get a really subtle massage here as the pelvis ever so gently presses into the blanket. Make sure the low back feels really soft here. And if it's comfortable, you can try lengthening the sits bones and tailbone back towards the feet, or just ever so gently pushing the pubic bone towards the blanket, but not in a forceful, effortful way. This is a nice time to pause the music if it's not too inconvenient. And you can be very still here and let the breath be the only movement. Or you can explore a little bit of self-massage by bending one knee at a time and ever so gently windshield wipering or circling the foot, and notice how the changing orientation of the femur and the hip socket just slightly changes what muscles are being massaged. We really want to be gentle with this area. So if you're a doozer, do less. And take your time, but eventually swap legs. And if this positioning feels constructive, you can stay here as long as you'd like. Whenever it feels appropriate, you can flip onto the back. And feel free to use that same blanket underneath the back of the knees to just support the body in a constructive rest pose. And as you come into Shavasana, notice your ability to sink really deeply inside. Letting all physical layers of tension fade away. And perhaps that same process can happen mentally and energetically. And so you can relax completely in this very expansive inner space. And we'll just rest here together, doing nothing but supporting each other so very deeply as the amazing Sangha that we are. Take a moment to notice any sense of space and freedom that are available right now, physically, mentally, energetically. And stay attuned to that spaciousness as you make any gentle waking movements. Take your time finding your favorite way back up to seated, and we'll meet with hands at heart center. Thank you so much for practicing.